That was another wonderful interview here on Stribling's New York on WOR AM Radio 710 on your digital dial and iHeartMedia Company. I am your host, Rob Taub, and we have author Marcia Muller on the phone from California. Her new book, Someone Always Knows, is out, and she has a really interesting background. She's a native of Detroit, and she started writing in the early 70s. Well, her first novel was published at age 12. Is that possible? Hi, Marcia.
Self-published.
That's okay. Now everybody is self-publishing. There's more self-publishing going on than publishing. Well, you're doing very well. You have a series of books, the Sharon McCone novels. Is that correct?
Yes. They're over 25, I believe.
Well, the other thing I find most interesting is that you work with your husband and fellow collaborator, Bill Pronzini. Is that correct, the pronunciation
That's
of the name?
correct.
That's got to be a good.
Together.
You haven't killed each other yet, and you live and work together. That's a miracle. It's like I've never been able to do either. So tell me.
We work on different floors at opposite ends of the house, so it's easy to avoid.
So I have so many books I've read over the years, and my background is I used to review books for People magazine, and I do 2 mysteries or thrillers a week at least, and I love the genre, and I always like women PIs, and I think that they're not as celebrated as they should be in the genre.
Well, I think there's been a lot of attention paid to them, and it paves the way for a whole lot of other people with women sleuths, whether amateur or professional.
We have Lisa Scottolene, who I'm familiar with her work, and the detective Kinsey Milhone has been run the alphabet. So how do your books work? And I admit I would not lie and say that I've read them, but I've just learned about you. And since we focus on so many authors here, your book's going to be one of the next that I read. So
very good.
Tell us about Sharon McCone.
Well, Sharon came along in my mind in the early 70s, and it took a while for her to turn into the person that she is today. She grows and changes with every little adventure that she has.
And what's her background? Was she a cop? How did she become a PI?
She was a security guard while she was going to college at UC Berkeley, and then she went to work for a PI and got her license under, his umbrella, and then went off on her own.
Oh, I like that. So you're keeping some things official. Robert Crace has been a guest on the show, and I'm a big fan of his work, and I think he's one of the few novelists that has ever explained what you have to do to get your license in California as a PI, which requires many, many hours and a lot of diligence.
Yes, it does. And also, it's very hard to keep that license unless you follow the law strictly.
And so what else can you tell us about McCone and the style of your book? Did you start reading people in the genre like so many writers will tell? I started reading Robert P. Parker. Was there somebody that influenced your work?
No, I haven't been influenced too much of him. My husband, of course, was a big influence.
And
his Nameless Detective series, the last book in it, is coming out next year.
So, but you also both collaborate on books together?
Yes.
And then you write individually too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And do you have a website we can go to as well?
I have a Facebook page.
Okay. And is it, did we just type in Marcia Muller?
Yeah, that'll take you to it.
All right. Well, I want everybody to be on the lookout for Someone Always Knows by Marcia Muller. And I'm going to start reading about Sharon McCone as soon as I leave the studio. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me on.
Okay.